TMZ and everybody else are posting a story about Diddy in solitary confinement that I dropped last night. They late, but they don't even got the whole story. Let me tell you the whole story. It's crazy. Now, last night, if you follow me, you already knew about this, but now everybody talking about it. Let me tell you what happened with Diddy. They're saying that it was a fight, but nobody knows what the fight is over except me. The fight that Diddy got into it with one of the inmates that got him put in the hole was over two things: cigarettes and cell phones. Let me explain.
And there are reports that Sean Diddy Combs is in solitary confinement following a prison fight. Sources tell ABC News the altercation broke out after another inmate made a comment to Combs.
How does a young man from Harlem become one of the most powerful figures in hip-hop, build an empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars, discover some of the biggest stars in music history, and then, decades later, find himself sitting inside a federal prison? For years, Sean Diddy Combs seemed untouchable. He wasn't just a rapper, he was a record executive, a businessman, a fashion icon, a television producer, a billionaire in the making. From bad boy records to luxury brands, from private jets to million-dollar mansions, Diddy built a life that looked almost impossible to achieve. But behind the success, another story was quietly unfolding. A story filled with lawsuits, former associates speaking out, federal investigations, courtroom battles, and allegations that shocked the entertainment world. Eventually, everything changed. Today, the man who once ruled the music industry is serving time in federal prison after being convicted on federal charges while continuing to appeal his conviction. So, how did Sean Combs reach the top? What decisions shaped his career? And how did one of hip-hop's biggest moguls end up facing one of the biggest legal battles in music history? This is the complete story. Before the world knew Diddy, long before he became known as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy, or Love, he was simply Sean John Combs. Sean was born on November 4th, 1969, in Harlem, New York. Growing up in Harlem wasn't easy. When Sean was only a young child, tragedy struck his family. His father, Melvin Combs, was killed, leaving Sean to be raised by his mother, Janice Combs. His mother worked hard to support the family and encouraged Sean to pursue a better future through education and determination. People who knew Sean during his younger years often described him as energetic, ambitious, and highly competitive. Even at a young age, he wanted more than an ordinary life. While many children dreamed about becoming famous, Sean seemed determined to build something much bigger. The young man with big dreams. After finishing school, Sean attended Howard University in Washington, D.C. Although he did not complete his degree, Howard became an important chapter in his life. More importantly, it gave him opportunities. Instead of waiting for success to find him, Sean chased it. He accepted an internship at Uptown Records. At first, he wasn't an executive, he wasn't an artist, he wasn't even famous. He simply worked harder than almost everyone around him. People noticed. Executives saw someone who understood both business and entertainment. Sean wasn't afraid to take risks. He studied marketing. He studied artists. He studied what people wanted to hear. That work ethic quickly earned him bigger responsibilities. But success also brought pressure. Eventually, his time at Uptown Records came to an end. For many people, getting fired from a dream job would have been the end. For Sean Combs, it became the beginning, building Bad Boy Records. After leaving Uptown Records, Sean founded Bad Boy Records. At the time, almost nobody imagined how influential this new label would become. Bad Boy Records would soon introduce artists whose music helped define an entire generation. One of the biggest names was the notorious B.I.G., whose success transformed both the label and Sean's reputation in the music industry. As Bad Boy Records expanded, more artists joined the roster. Hit after hit climbed the charts. Albums sold millions of copies. Sean was no longer simply working behind the scenes. He became one of the most recognizable executives in hip-hop. Soon, the public knew him as Puff Daddy. From executive to global star, most record executives stay behind the curtain. Sean chose a different path. He stepped in front of the camera. He began recording his own music. His songs became commercial successes. Awards followed. Worldwide recognition followed. Business opportunities followed. But music was only one piece of a much larger vision. Sean believed that real wealth came from ownership. Instead of relying only on album sales, he expanded into fashion, television, advertising, investments, luxury partnerships. Over time, his business empire stretched far beyond hip-hop. To millions of fans, Diddy represented success itself. He owned luxury homes, hosted lavish parties, traveled on private jets, appeared alongside some of the biggest celebrities in the world. His public image suggested that almost nothing could stop him. At least, that's how it looked from the outside. The power of the Diddy brand. As social media grew, so did Diddy's influence. Every appearance made headlines. Every business deal attracted attention. Every party became a celebrity event. For years, many young entrepreneurs looked at Sean Combs as proof that someone from humble beginnings could build an international empire. His name became larger than music. He represented ambition, luxury, influence, power. But fame has a unique way of hiding problems. Sometimes, the biggest stories are the ones nobody sees coming. Behind the glamorous headlines, questions were beginning to surface. Former associates, old relationships, past events, stories that had remained largely outside the public spotlight for years. At first, most people paid little attention. But eventually, those stories would grow into something much bigger than anyone expected. And once investigators became involved, Sean Combs's life would never be the same again. When the perfect image began to crack, for decades, Sean "Diddy" Combs looked unstoppable. He had money, influence, power, celebrity friends, business empires. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But behind closed doors, a different story was slowly beginning to emerge. For years, rumors occasionally appeared in entertainment media, but they rarely changed Diddy's public image. That would change dramatically in the early 2020s. Former associates and former partners began filing civil lawsuits, making serious allegations against him. It is important to note that civil allegations are not criminal convictions, and different claims followed different legal paths. However, the volume of accusations brought unprecedented public attention. Suddenly, the questions were becoming impossible to ignore. The case that changed everything. In late 2023, singer Cassie Ventura filed a civil lawsuit against Diddy. The lawsuit included serious allegations concerning their relationship. Diddy denied the allegations. Only one day after the lawsuit was filed, both parties announced that they had reached a settlement. Many people assumed the story would disappear. Instead, it became the beginning of something much larger. More lawsuits followed. More individuals came forward. The media began investigating older stories. Television networks covered every development. Social media exploded with speculation. For the first time, many fans started asking the same question. Was this only the beginning? The video that changed public opinion months later. A surveillance video from 2016 became public. The footage appeared to show Diddy assaulting Cassie inside a hotel hallway. The video spread across the internet within hours. Millions of people watched it. For years, many people had defended Diddy. After seeing the footage, public opinion shifted dramatically. Shortly after the video's release, Diddy publicly apologized for his behavior shown in the video. However, the legal questions surrounding him were continuing to grow. What had started as civil lawsuits was now attracting attention from federal authorities. And that would change everything. Federal investigators enter the story. As media coverage intensified, federal investigators began examining broader allegations. Then came one of the biggest headlines of the year. Federal agents searched two of Diddy's properties. One was located in Los Angeles. The other was in Miami. Television helicopters circled overhead. News cameras surrounded the properties. Images from the searches spread worldwide. The searches immediately became one of the biggest entertainment stories of the year. Fans wanted answers. Critics believed accountability had finally arrived. Supporters argued that everyone deserved due process. The investigation was no longer just celebrity gossip. It had become a major federal criminal case. The arrest months after the searches, federal prosecutors announced criminal charges. Diddy was arrested. The news dominated headlines around the world. The indictment included multiple federal charges. Prosecutors accused him of operating a long-running criminal enterprise and committing other serious offenses. Diddy pleaded not guilty. His legal team strongly denied the government's allegations, and stated that they intended to fight the case in court. Meanwhile, the court denied requests for his release on bail. That meant Diddy would remain in custody while waiting for trial. It was a shocking moment. Only a few years earlier, he had been walking red carpets. Now, he was preparing for one of the most closely watched celebrity trials in recent history. Inside the courtroom, as the trial approached, journalists from around the world gathered to report every development. Every witness mattered. Every document mattered. Every courtroom decision became breaking news. Prosecutors argued that the evidence supported their case. Defense attorneys challenged the government's claims and questioned the reliability and interpretation of key evidence. Day after day, courtroom testimony became the biggest story in entertainment news. Millions of people followed live updates. Social media users debated every witness. News organizations published hourly reports. For YouTube creators, every court session generated new headlines. But inside the courtroom, only one thing truly mattered: the evidence presented to the jury. The public reaction outside the courthouse. Opinions were deeply divided. Some believed justice was finally catching up with one of music's most powerful figures. Others argued that everyone deserves a fair trial and should not be judged before the legal process is complete. Former interviews resurfaced online. Old television appearances went viral again. Clips from podcasts, documentaries, and award shows were re-examined. Every old photo, every old interview, every old party became part of the public conversation. The internet wasn't just following the case, it was rewriting the timeline of Diddy's career. His rise, his success, his relationships, his business empire. Everything was now being viewed through a completely different lens. At this point, Sean Diddy Combs had gone from one of the most powerful men in entertainment to the central figure in one of the biggest celebrity criminal cases in modern history. But the biggest chapter had not yet arrived. The jury would soon deliver its verdict. Some charges would end in acquittal. Others would result in convictions. The judge would then decide Diddy's sentence, and the outcome would reshape the legacy of a man who once seemed untouchable. The verdict that shocked America. After weeks of testimony, hundreds of exhibits, emotional witness statements, and intense arguments from both prosecutors and the defense, everything came down to one moment: the jury's verdict. Millions of people around the world waited for the decision. Some believed Diddy would be convicted on every charge. Others believed the government had failed to prove its case. When the verdict was finally read, the courtroom fell silent. The jury found Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of the racketeering conspiracy charge and not guilty of sex trafficking charges. However, the jury did convict him on 2 federal counts of transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act. It was a mixed verdict. Neither side got everything it wanted. For prosecutors, it was a partial victory. For the defense, avoiding convictions on the most serious charges was significant, but Diddy still faced prison because of the convictions that remained. The legal battle wasn't over. Now, everyone turned their attention to the judge. How much prison time would Diddy receive? Sentencing day. Months later, the courtroom filled once again. Family members, journalists, lawyers, supporters. Everyone waited for the judge's decision. After considering the evidence, sentencing guidelines, and arguments from both sides, the judge announced the sentence. Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison. The court also imposed a $500,000 fine, 5 years of supervised release, after completing his prison sentence. It was one of the biggest celebrity sentencing stories in recent years. Around the world, news organizations interrupted regular programming. Entertainment websites published breaking news alerts. Social media exploded. For someone who had spent decades at the top of the music industry, the moment was almost unimaginable. Life behind bars today. Sean Combs is serving his sentence in a federal correctional institution, while his legal team continues to pursue an appeal. Life inside prison is very different from the life he once lived. No luxury mansions, no private jets, no red carpet events. Instead, his days follow a structured prison routine. According to public reporting, he has participated in prison programs and continued working with his attorneys on his appeal. His legal team maintains that legal errors occurred during the case and continues challenging the conviction through the court system. Until any appeal changes the outcome, the conviction remains in effect. What happened to the empire? Even after the verdict, the impact spread far beyond the courtroom. Business partnerships changed. Companies reassessed relationships. Some projects ended. Others were paused. Properties connected to Diddy attracted renewed public attention. One of his luxury homes was eventually sold after previously being offered as part of a proposed bail package that the court rejected. The empire that once symbolized unlimited success now faced an uncertain future. Public reaction. As expected, public opinion remained divided. Some people believed the legal system had finally held a powerful celebrity accountable. Others argued that the outcome showed the importance of allowing a jury, not public opinion, to decide criminal cases based on evidence presented in court. On social media, debates continued every day. Supporters, critics, lawyers, journalists, content creators, everyone had an opinion. The story became one of the most discussed celebrity legal cases in modern entertainment history. The legacy of Sean Diddy Combs. For decades, Sean Combs helped shape hip-hop. He launched careers, built successful businesses, created iconic music, inspired entrepreneurs around the world. That influence cannot be separated from his place in music history. At the same time, his criminal case has become a major part of how many people now view his legacy. History often remembers both achievement and controversy. In Diddy's case, both now exist side by side. Whether future appeals change any part of the legal outcome remains to be seen. But today, his story stands as one of the most dramatic rises and falls in modern entertainment. One decision, one courtroom, one verdict changed the life of a man who once appeared to have everything. From a young dreamer in Harlem, to the founder of one of hip-hop's most influential record labels, to a global celebrity, and finally, to a federal inmate. Sean Diddy Combs' story is a reminder that fame, wealth, and influence do not place anyone outside the reach of the legal system. As this story continues through the appeals process and any future legal developments, new chapters may still be written. We'll continue following those developments and bringing you verified updates as they happen. If you want factual coverage of celebrity court cases, breaking legal news, and in-depth timelines, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next report. Because in stories like this, the next chapter can arrive when the world least expects it.